Hello, welcome to Mississippi Insight Meditation. For more information about our organization or to leave a much needed donation, please visit our website at msinsightmeditation.org.
Welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Christy Grassis, and I am from Mississippi Insight Meditation. And today I would like to talk to you about holding fear with compassion. Now, if this sounds familiar to you, it was the topic of last month's newsletter. But I think it's worth hearing again. If you are not subscribed to our newsletter and you would like to be, it goes out monthly, I will leave a link to our website in the comment section after this talk. So, holding fear with compassion. It is an extremely stressful time right now for our nation and for the world. It is unlike anything we have ever seen before. And it's perfectly normal to be afraid for ourselves, for our families, our loved ones, our healthcare workers, our first responders, for our jobs and our economy, for our very way of life. But in the midst of all this chaos, we need to remember that fear is just an emotion. And like all emotions, our practice asks that we bring mindful attention to that fear. We don't push it away. We don't cling to it. We simply be with our fear in a kind and compassionate way. We give our fear mindful attention. During our last talk before we all quarantined, we spoke about cultivating wholesome actions and preventing unwholesome actions. And you can substitute the word skillful and unskillful, helpful and unhelpful, whatever word resonates with you better. But when we spoke of these unskillful, unwholesome, unhelpful actions, we spoke of anger and hate and ill will and doubt. But we never spoke of fear, and there's a reason for that. Fear is not considered unskillful. It's not unwholesome. Fear can actually be appropriate and useful. For example, if I don't touch the pretty snake with the rattling tail, that's a healthy fear. That's a healthy reaction to my fear. So sometimes fear can serve us. But if I don't go to the dentist because of my fear, that becomes an unwholesome reaction or an unskillful reaction to my fear. It's not very useful. So when we explore these two very opposite sides of the same coin, fear, what we begin to understand is that fear is just an emotion. It's our actions and our reactions to the fear that follow the fear, which we must look at and make mindful decisions on if they are wholesome or unwholesome, skillful or unskillful to us. So how do we react to fear? That actually becomes the important question. Do we hide? Do we respond with anger? Do we lose ourselves in an addiction? Or do we sit with our fear? Do we give our fear space and compassion? Do we meet our fear with loving kindness? Keep in mind, there's no wrong answer. However you handle fear, that's not wrong or right. What we want to look at is skillful and unskillful. How do we respond to said fear? So It's nothing to beat yourself up over. It's something to look at. You look at your reactions and make mindful decisions on if you would like to course correct or not. In our practice, it is appropriate to sit with our fear. With insight meditation, we can be with our fear. We can get to know it. And with that knowledge, be able to make more mindful decisions around it. Sometimes when we sit with fear, past fears in our life might become intertwined with it. And it's important to hold all of our fears with compassion. There's no shame in being afraid. It doesn't make us weak. It's a human process that should be met with loving kindness. So, what is a helpful, wholesome, skillful way to hold our fear? We should aspire to be kind to the part of ourselves that feels the fear. Instead of being critical, we can treat that part of ourselves as we would treat a friend or a small child. We can be a safe person, not only to others, but to ourselves. So there are a few strategies that can be used. When fear arises, it's helpful to simply be with it. Remember, you are not your fear. So instead of, I am afraid, you can change your thinking slightly and just say, there is fear here. Be independent of the fear. Note that there's fear in the body, but there are also other things, right? There's compassion, and there's kindness, and there's the breath, and there's the itch between my shoulder blades, and there are thoughts, and the list goes on and on and on. We are not our fear. It is a small piece of us. I sat retreat with Reverend Leanne Schutt, and she burned this phrase into my head. The vastness of awareness. And she would say it just like that, the vastness of awareness. And it's actually a really important concept. Awareness is vast. So although you can spend time sitting with your fear, understand that it is a small part of the overall processes that make up your experience. We are less likely to be overwhelmed by fear when we can put it in the perspective of our vast awareness. We can rely on our practice. There is fear here, but there is also compassion. There is fear here, but there's also the breath. If fear starts to be overwhelming, take a few long, slow, deep breaths. Connect to your body. Just really connect to the moment that you are in. Another suggestion for when fear seems overwhelming, we can rely on our practice. Like we learned in meditation training, we can use the acronym b.e.l.l.a as we focus our attention on the fear during a sit. A lot of people in the insight community use the acronym RAIN. It's very similar, but I like b.e.l.l.a just a bit better. I want to give credit where it's due, but I'm not quite sure which teacher I learned it from. I was sitting retreat with Gil Fronsdal and Bruni Davila. So one of them did bring it up. I'm not quite sure which one. Anyway, I really like it. So I'm going to take a minute and share it with you. During your meditation, we can be with the emotion of fear. We don't cling to it or push it away. We simply see it within ourselves. Then we can examine the fear, not the story that propels it, not the not what's causing the fear, but the human experience of fear, how we all feel it, and where in particular you feel it within your body. After spending some time with that, we can lessen the grip of the fear by really understanding that awareness is vast, and spend some time on something other than the fear, like a breath meditation or a body meditation or a metta, a loving kindness meditation. Once we can lessen the grip of the fear, we move to letting go. And we're not letting go of the fear per se, because sometimes that's not possible. But what we can let go of is the control that the fear has over us. We can remind ourselves that fear is just a process, and we can tease apart what is being done to us versus what we are doing to ourselves. This virus is real and fear is warranted, but spending time thinking about what ifs or what I should have done to prepare, that's unskillful, and we can recognize that that's unskillful. We can look at the actual emotion versus our relationship to that emotion or our reaction to that emotion. We can try to soften around that fear. After we let go of the control that the fear has over us, we need to appreciate the space or the peace that is left behind. Even if it's just a slight release, lean into that place of harmony. Using b.e.l.l.a can be really helpful when dealing with a strong emotion. And in the next few days, I'll put out a guided meditation on using b.e.l.l.a with fear. So just check back for that. I hope that this has been helpful. And in addition to what we've talked about, I'd like to add some practical suggestions that might help during this time. Lean into your practice. This is what we've been practicing for. And if you're new to the practice, that's okay. It can still be really, really supportive. When we struggle with a sitting meditation, a walking meditation can be helpful. When my mind is extremely agitated, I'll move to a walking meditation. Side note, do this out in the sunshine if possible. Exercise is important during times of stress, as is getting plenty of sleep and eating healthy meals. So be mindful of what you're cooking and really, really be mindful of taking care of your body. Tune into your inner life. Make a menu of self-care items that you enjoy and try to do at least a few of them every day. Watch less news coverage. Read a Dharma book or listen to a Dharma talk. I've got a few videos up. There are audio recordings on our website. There's also Dharma Seed, and I recommend audio Dharma. So put on those headphones when you're out taking your walk and work on your practice. Reach out to friends, family, or your Sangha via phone, email, Zoom, text. There is no reason to be alone in this because we are all in this together. Be extremely compassionate with yourself and others. This is a solid opportunity to practice metta. Be mindful of secondary traumatic stress. When those around us are suffering, as well as the entire world, it can be difficult not to feel empathetic, but sympathetic is better. An example, if a small child is scared during a thunderstorm, you don't have to be scared with him. You can just hold him until the storm passes. Be mindful. You don't have to wrap yourself up in the pain and the fear of others. Most times, a calm and wise understanding is more helpful to those around you. And lastly, if you are struggling, reach out to a doctor or a mental health professional. You are not alone in your feelings. Normal human process. We don't need to run from it. We simply need to sit with it in a kind and compassionate way. May we all hold ourselves and each other with sympathetic compassion in the days ahead. Thank you so much for listening today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for listening to this video provided by Mississippi Insight Meditation. For more content like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, or visit our website at msinsightmeditation.org. All talks are given freely. If you would like to leave a donation, please visit our website. Again, that's msinsightmeditation.org. Thank you for listening.